Commander Lyra Zenthari's luminescent scales shifted from deep blue to anxious purple as she studied the holographic readouts floating before her. The ancient ruins sprawling across asteroid NT 792 had baffled the Galactic Science Council for months, but today's readings threatened to transform their archaeological curiosity into a system-wide catastrophe. "Run the quantum analysis again," she ordered, her crystalline voice echoing through the research facility's main chamber. Her second-in-command, Technical Director Vor, clicked his mandibles in concern. "Commander, we've already run it 17 times today. The energy signature continues to grow exponentially." Lyra's tail coiled tightly around her chair, a habit from her youth that emerged only in moments of extreme stress. The ruins before them predated any known civilization in the galaxy. Their metallic surfaces gleamed with an inner light, covered in patterns that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. What had begun as the greatest archaeological find in centuries now threatened to destabilize the entire Proxima Centauri system. "Show me the temporal readings," she requested, her scaled fingers dancing through the holographic interface. Numbers and charts materialized in the air, telling a story that grew more worrying by the hour. The energy signature emanating from the ruins had begun 3 months ago as a barely detectable pulse. Now it threatened to tear apart the fabric of spacetime itself. The finest minds in the Galactic Science Council had been summoned. They had deployed technology capable of analyzing quantum fluctuations across 11 dimensions. They had attempted to communicate with the ruins using everything from gravitational waves to psychic resonance. Nothing had worked. "Commander," called out Senior Researcher Kale from his monitoring station, his phosphorescent antennae drooping with exhaustion. "The latest calculations suggest we have less than 2 weeks before the energy buildup reaches critical levels. The Council is demanding immediate action." Lyra's scales flickered with frustration. The Council, in their infinite wisdom, had suggested everything from attempting to destroy the ruins with antimatter charges to evacuating the entire star system. Neither option appealed to her scientific sensibilities. She approached the observation window, studying the ruins directly. The massive structure resembled a temple or perhaps a machine, its architecture unlike anything in the known galaxy. As she watched, patterns of light rippled across its surface, following sequences that seemed almost mechanical. That thought stopped her cold. Her scales shifted to brilliant gold, the color of sudden inspiration. "We've been approaching this wrong," she announced, turning to face her team. "We've tried to analyze this structure using the most advanced technology in the galaxy. But look at these patterns, these sequences. They're not random. They're not even particularly complex. They're mechanical," finished Vor, his compound eyes widening with understanding. "Exactly." Lyra's tail unwound slightly as her mind raced with possibilities. "We've been so focused on quantum mechanics and temporal physics that we've overlooked something fundamental. What if this technology isn't advanced at all? What if it's deliberately simple?" The research team exchanged confused looks. Senior Researcher Kale stepped forward, his antennae twitching skeptically. "Commander, with respect, these ruins are clearly the work of a civilization far more advanced than our own. The energy readings alone suggest technology beyond our comprehension." "Perhaps," Lyra countered, her scales now pulsing with excitement. "Or perhaps we're seeing the output of something much simpler. Something so basic that we've overlooked it entirely because we're too focused on complexity." She pulled up historical records from Earth, a relatively primitive world that had only recently joined the galactic community. "Look at this. Humans, they still use mechanical systems for many things. They understand principles we've long since abandoned in favor of quantum technology." "You can't be serious," Kale protested. "You want to consult humans?" "Not just any human," Lyra replied, her scales shimmering with determination. "We need someone who understands mechanical systems at their most fundamental level. Someone who can look at this structure without our preconceptions about advanced technology. The chamber erupted in protests and arguments, but Lyra held firm. Her tail coiled around her chair again, but this time it was a gesture of resolve rather than anxiety. She had spent her career making unprecedented discoveries by following unconventional paths. This time, the stakes were higher than ever. Technical Director Vor, she commanded, begin searching Earth's databases. Find me their finest expert in ancient mechanical systems. Someone who understands the principles of mechanical engineering at its most basic level. As her team scrambled to comply, Lyra turned back to the observation window. The ruins pulsed with another wave of energy, and for the first time in months, she felt something besides dread. She felt hope. Sometimes, she murmured to herself, her scales shifting to a calm blue, the greatest wisdom lies in the simplest solutions. The search for humanity's expert had begun, and with it, perhaps their last chance to prevent a catastrophe that threatened to destroy an entire star system. Lyra only hoped they would find the right person before time ran out. Rust and grease stained Sam Fletcher's weathered hands as he carefully adjusted the gears of a 19th-century lighthouse mechanism. The Maritime Museum had called him their last hope after 3 other restoration experts had failed to get the ancient device working. The massive brass and iron assembly filled most of the workshop, its intricate gears catching the late afternoon sunlight streaming through dusty windows. Just a little more, he muttered, feeling the subtle resistance in the mechanism. After 40 years of working with ancient mechanical systems, from Victorian steam engines to prehistoric water clocks, Sam had developed an almost supernatural sense for how machines were supposed to feel. The mechanism gave a slight click, then began to turn smoothly, its gears meshing in perfect harmony. Sam stood back, wiping his hands on his worn coveralls, satisfaction evident in his weathered features. At 62, he'd restored more ancient devices than anyone else in the field, earning him the nickname, the Machine Whisperer, among his peers. A strange humming filled the workshop, causing the tools on his workbench to vibrate. Sam turned, expecting to see another museum curator, but instead found himself face to face with a tall, serpentine figure whose scales shifted through shades of blue and gold. He blinked twice, looked at his coffee thermos, then back at the alien. "Samuel Fletcher," the alien asked, her crystalline voice carrying an unmistakable note of authority. "That's me," he replied with surprising calm, though his heart was racing. "Though if you're here about the particle accelerator down at the university, I already told them I don't work on anything invented after 1950. Commander Lyra Zenthery's scales flickered with amusement. "Actually, Mr. Fletcher, we're interested in your expertise with much older devices. I represent the Galactic Science Council, and we need your help with an urgent matter." 20 minutes later, after a brief explanation and proof that this wasn't an elaborate prank, Sam found himself aboard a ship capable of faster-than-light travel, his old toolbox clutched in his calloused hands. The vessel's interior looked like something out of his wildest dreams, with holographic displays and surfaces that seemed to defy physics. "So let me get this straight," he said, watching stars streak past through a viewing port. "You've got technology that can bend spacetime, but you can't figure out what this ancient device does?" "Our most advanced analysis methods have failed," Lyra admitted, her scales showing hints of embarrassment. "We've tried everything in our power to understand it, but the energy signature continues to grow. If we can't stabilize it soon, an entire star system could be lost." Sam nodded thoughtfully, studying the holographic images of the ruins that Lyra had shown him. "You know what this reminds me of," he said, pointing to certain patterns on the structure's surface. "The regulator mechanism in old steam engines. See these recurring sequences? They're not random, they're like timing marks." Lyra's scales shifted to a bright, interested gold. "You can see patterns in this? When you've spent as much time as I have working with mechanical systems, you start to recognize certain principles," Sam explained. "Doesn't matter if it was made yesterday or a million years ago, machines follow the same basic rules. The ship arrived at the research facility, where Sam's arrival caused quite a stir. Dozens of alien scientists stared at him, their expressions ranging from curiosity to obvious skepticism. He heard whispers as he walked by, still carrying his battered toolbox. "This is what you brought us?" Senior researcher Kale asked Lyra, his antennae twitching with disapproval. "A primitive who doesn't even have proper scanning equipment?" Sam ignored the comments, his attention focused on the massive structure floating in the containment field. His eyes narrowed as he studied its surface, noting the way the patterns shifted and moved. "Mind if I get closer to it?" he asked. Lyra's scales flashed with alarm. "Our safety protocols require." "That's your first problem right there," Sam interrupted, pulling a simple mechanical stethoscope from his toolbox. "You can't understand a machine by just looking at it through screens and sensors. You need to get up close, listen to it, feel how it works." The alien scientists watched in horror as Sam approached the containment field. Lyra, despite her initial hesitation, found herself fascinated by his confident approach. He moved like someone who had done this countless times before, though surely he had never encountered anything like this. "Interesting," he muttered, pressing the stethoscope against the containment field. "You hear that rhythm? That's not energy building up, that's a machine trying to start. Like an engine turning over but not quite catching." The scientists exchanged confused looks, but Lyra moved closer, her scales pulsing with curiosity. "What do you mean?" Sam pulled out an old pocket watch, holding it up to the light. "Listen to this, the ticking of my watch. Now listen to that structure. They're following the same basic principle, regulated mechanical movement. Your ancient civilization didn't build this thing to be complicated. They built it to last." As if in response to his words, the ruins pulsed with another wave of energy, but this time, Sam smiled. "Oh, now that's interesting," he said, reaching for his toolbox. "I think I know exactly what we need to do." The alien scientists leaned forward, their skepticism beginning to waver in the face of Sam's quiet confidence. They were about to learn that sometimes the most elegant solutions come from the simplest principles, a lesson that would challenge everything they thought they knew about advanced technology. "The first rule of mechanical restoration," Sam announced, laying out his tools with methodical precision, "is to understand that every machine tells you what it needs. You just have to learn how to listen." The alien scientists watched with a mixture of fascination and skepticism as he arranged simple tools, wrenches, gauges, and measuring devices that looked absurdly primitive next to their quantum analyzers. Commander Lyra's scales shifted through shades of curious gold as she observed his preparations. "These markings here," Sam pointed to a section of the structure where the patterns seemed to flow like water, "they're not decorative. They're instructions. Like an old-fashioned maintenance manual built right into the surface." "Impossible," senior researcher Kale protested, his antennae rigid with disbelief. "We've analyzed those patterns for months. They contain no recognizable language or symbols." Sam chuckled, pulling out a simple mirror from his toolbox. "That's because you're not looking at them the right way. Watch this." He positioned the mirror at a specific angle, reflecting light onto the structure's surface. The patterns suddenly shifted, revealing clear geometric sequences. "By the stars," Lyra breathed, her scales flashing brilliant white with surprise. The patterns had transformed into what were unmistakably mechanical diagrams. Whoever built this knew that language might change, that technology might advance beyond recognition, Sam explained, moving the mirror to reveal different sequences. "But basic mechanical principles? Those are universal. They're showing us how to maintain this machine using nothing more complicated than levers and gears." As Sam worked, more of the facility's scientists gathered to watch. He used simple tools to take measurements, listened to different sections with his mechanical stethoscope, and made detailed sketches in an old notebook. His method seemed painfully primitive, yet there was an undeniable logic to his approach. Look here, he said, pointing to a particular section. See these wear patterns? This isn't damage, it's deliberate. Like marks on an old lock showing you where to position the key. He pressed his hand against the surface, feeling the subtle vibrations. The whole thing is trying to move, to cycle through its sequence, but it's stuck. Lyra moved closer, her scientific curiosity overcoming her initial skepticism. The energy readings have been increasing steadily. Could that be because? Because it's building up mechanical tension, yes, Sam finished. Like a spring being wound tighter and tighter. We need to release it properly, or all that stored energy could tear this whole place apart. He reached into his toolbox and pulled out a set of precision calipers. These patterns aren't just showing us what to do, they're showing us the exact measurements we need. The ancients who built this knew that eventually, someone would need to maintain it. They made sure anyone with basic mechanical knowledge could figure it out. As he worked, Sam explained his theories about the device's purpose. Look at how these sequences are arranged. It's like a giant mechanical governor, you know, the kind they used to use in steam engines to regulate speed. But this is operating on a much larger scale. Lyra's scales pulsed with growing excitement as she began to understand. You think this device was built to regulate something in the star system itself? Exactly, Sam nodded, making another careful measurement. And it's been trying to activate because something in your system needs adjusting. The increasing energy signature isn't a malfunction, it's a warning system. He stepped back, studying his notes. We need to release the built-up tension in a specific sequence. Get it wrong, and all that stored energy could release at once. Get it right. And the device will function as intended, Lyra finished, her scales now pulsing with a mix of hope and anxiety. Sam turned to her, his weathered face serious. I'm going to need your help. This was designed to be maintained by multiple people working in sync. Like an old clock tower mechanism, but on a massive scale. The alien scientists murmured among themselves, but Lyra stepped forward without hesitation. Tell me what you need. Sam smiled, pulling out several simple wrenches. First, we need to position ourselves at these specific points. He indicated several spots around the structure. When I give the signal, we'll need to make precise adjustments, like tuning a giant musical instrument. As they prepared for their attempt, the structure's humming grew more intense. The energy readings that had worried the alien scientists for months were reaching critical levels. But now, thanks to Sam's insights, they weren't just watching helplessly, they were finally ready to act. Remember, Sam said as they took their positions, this isn't about force or advanced technology. It's about precision, timing, and understanding the basic principles these ancients built into their machine. Are you ready? Lyra's scales settled into a determined blue as she gripped her wrench. The moment of truth had arrived, and with it, the chance to prove that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most powerful. The real test of their unlikely partnership was about to begin, and the fate of an entire star system hung in the balance. The ancient structure's humming had risen to a fever pitch, its surface patterns pulsing with increasing urgency. Sam stood at his designated position, one hand on his wrench, the other holding his pocket watch. Around the device, Lyra and 3 other scientists waited for his signal, each positioned exactly where the mechanical diagrams had indicated. The energy readings are becoming unstable, warned Technical Director Vore from his monitoring station. We have perhaps 20 minutes before containment fails completely. That's more than enough time, Sam said calmly, though sweat beaded on his forehead. In 1884, I once helped restore a clock mechanism that would have destroyed half of London if we'd gotten the timing wrong. This is just a bit bigger, that's all. Lyra's scales flickered between anxious purple and determined blue. What's our first step? Listen to the rhythm, Sam instructed, closing his eyes. This machine has a heartbeat. We need to match it. The humming pulsed through the chamber in steady waves. Feel that? Every fourth beat is slightly stronger. That's our timing mark. He opened his eyes and pointed to different sections of the structure. When I give the signal, we'll each turn our adjustment points exactly 1/4 rotation, moving clockwise. Not a degree more or less. The sequence matters as much as the precision. The alien scientists gripped their tools, their earlier skepticism forgotten in the face of the impending crisis. Sam had distributed his own tools among them, simple wrenches and levers that felt strange in their advanced hands. "Ready," Sam called out, watching his pocket watch. "On my mark, 3, 2, 1, now." 4 wrenches turned in perfect synchronization. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a deep resonating click, the structure's surface shifted. New patterns emerged, flowing like liquid metal across its surface. "Energy patterns are changing," Vor reported, his compound eyes fixed on his displays. "The buildup is stabilizing?" "That's because we're working with the machine now, not against it," Sam explained, studying the new patterns. "Look there, the next sequence is showing itself. Just like an old combination lock." They worked through 3 more sequences, each movement releasing more of the built-up tension. The structure's humming changed pitch, becoming deeper, more harmonious. Sam's simple mechanical approach was working where months of advanced analysis had failed. Then something went wrong. "Energy spike!" Vor shouted. The structure's surface blazed with sudden light, and a wave of force rippled through the chamber. Lyra's scales flashed alarm red as she struggled to maintain her position. "Hold steady," Sam called out, his voice cutting through the chaos. "This is normal. It's like an engine backfiring, means we're getting close." The other scientists looked ready to flee, but Lyra held firm. "Trust him," she ordered, her scales settling back to a determined blue. "Continue the sequence." Sam nodded gratefully, already studying the next set of patterns. "This next part is crucial. The ancients built in a safety test, we have to prove we understand the machine's purpose before it'll fully activate." "How can we prove that?" Lyra asked, adjusting her grip on her wrench. Sam pointed to a new series of patterns emerging on the surface. "Look at how these lines flow, they're not just showing us mechanical movements anymore. They're showing us astronomical patterns. This device isn't just a machine, it's a mechanical model of your entire star system." Lyra's scales rippled with sudden understanding. "The instabilities we've been detecting in our sun, this device must be meant to correct them." "Exactly." Sam's eyes lit up with professional admiration. These ancients built a mechanical governor for an entire star. No computers to fail, no power source to run dry, just pure mechanical principles that could work reliably for millions of years. The structure pulsed again, but this time the energy felt different, almost expectant. New patterns appeared, more complex than before. "Final sequence," Sam announced, wiping sweat from his brow. "This is where it gets tricky. We need to make 8 simultaneous adjustments, perfectly timed. One mistake, and all that stored energy releases at once." Lyra quickly organized additional scientists, positioning them according to Sam's instructions. The chamber was silent except for the structure's deep thrumming and Sam's quiet directions as he checked each person's position. "Remember," he said, meeting each pair of eyes, or equivalent sensory organs, "this isn't about strength or speed. It's about precision and timing. Listen to the machine. Feel its rhythm. Move with it, not against it." The structure's hum reached a crescendo, its patterns flowing faster now, almost eager. Sam raised his hand, his pocket watch ticking steadily in his other palm. "On my mark," he called out, his voice steady despite the tension. 3, 2, 1. The fate of an entire star system hung on the next few seconds, as human ingenuity and alien technology prepared to work in perfect harmony. "Now!" 8 wrenches turned in perfect synchronization. For 3 heartbeats, nothing happened. Then the ancient structure released a harmonious tone that resonated through every bone and scale in the chamber. Its surface erupted in a dazzling display of flowing patterns, like a mechanical aurora borealis. By all the stars, Lyra breathed, her scales shifting through colors of wonder and amazement. The structure was transforming before their eyes, its surfaces flowing like liquid metal as hidden mechanisms activated in sequence. Sam watched with quiet satisfaction as the device unfolded like an enormous mechanical flower. Layer after layer of precision-engineered components emerged, each moving in perfect harmony with the others. Gears larger than houses meshed silently with counterweights and levers, creating a dance of mechanical perfection. Energy signatures are stabilizing, Technical Director Vore reported, his antennae twitching in disbelief. The temporal distortions are resolving themselves. It's actually working. Look there, Sam pointed to the center of the now transformed device. A complex mechanical model of the star system had manifested, each celestial body represented by precisely balanced spheres and weights. It's not just monitoring your sun, it's actively adjusting its output through purely mechanical means. Lyra moved closer, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her caution. But how can simple mechanical systems affect something as massive as a star? The same way a tiny governor can control a massive steam engine, Sam explained, his eyes tracking the intricate movements of the device. It's all about leverage and timing. These ancients understood something we've forgotten: sometimes the simplest solutions are the most reliable. The device continued its transformation, each new configuration more beautiful than the last. The threatening energy buildup that had worried them for months was now flowing smoothly through the system, channeled and directed by countless precision-engineered components. Look at these maintenance markings, Sam said, pointing to newly revealed sections. They left us complete instructions for upkeep. This thing was designed to run for millions of years with just basic mechanical maintenance. No power sources to fail, no computers to crash, just pure, reliable mechanical principles. Senior researcher Cale approached, his earlier skepticism replaced by genuine respect. We were so focused on finding complex solutions that we couldn't see the elegant simplicity before us. Perhaps we have become too dependent on our advanced technology. Nothing wrong with advanced technology, Sam said, patting his old toolbox. But sometimes you need to step back and remember the basics. These ancients, they understood that. They built this device to last, to be maintained by anyone who understood fundamental mechanical principles. The chamber's monitoring systems showed the star system's instabilities resolving themselves as the device worked its mechanical magic. Lyra's scales had settled into a peaceful blue as she watched the machine operate. "Mr. Fletcher," she said, turning to Sam, "you've done more than save a star system today. You've reminded us of something important we'd forgotten. Sometimes the greatest wisdom lies in simplicity." Sam smiled, already making notes in his worn notebook about the maintenance procedures they'd need to implement. "You know what this reminds me of? The old lighthouse mechanisms I work on back home. Different scale, sure, but the same principle, reliable mechanical systems designed to work generation after generation, keeping people safe." The other scientists had gathered around, their initial dismissal of primitive, human methods completely forgotten. They watched in fascination as Sam explained the basic mechanical principles behind each component, their advanced degrees and quantum physics expertise giving way to a new appreciation for fundamental engineering. "We'll need to set up a maintenance schedule," Sam said, sketching out diagrams. "Regular checks of the main gear assemblies, lubrication of the pivot points, calibration of the counterweights. Nothing too complex, that's the beauty of it. Train your people in basic mechanical principles, and this device will keep your star stable for another million years." As the day drew to a close, the research facility had transformed from a place of high-tech anxiety to one of peaceful mechanical harmony. The ancient device continued its work, its countless gears and levers moving in perfect synchronization, maintaining the delicate balance of an entire star system through nothing more complex than precisely engineered metal and motion. The Galactic Science Council would have much to think about in the coming days. Their encounter with Sam Fletcher had taught them that progress didn't always mean greater complexity. Sometimes it meant rediscovering the elegant simplicity of the past. As Lyra prepared the reports that would revolutionize their approach to ancient technologies, she glanced at Sam, who was teaching a group of young scientists how to use a mechanical stethoscope. Her scales rippled with contentment, knowing that today marked not just the saving of a star system, but the beginning of a new partnership between human ingenuity and alien technology. In the end, it wasn't advanced quantum mechanics or temporal physics that had saved them. It was the simple wisdom of a human who understood that sometimes the most powerful solutions are also the most basic. The ancient device continued its work, its mechanical heartbeat a testament to the enduring power of fundamental principles, transcending time, space, and the boundaries between species.